Well, hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, you thirsty bunch of beer drinkers, whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks for pressing play and supporting a Canadian podcast. I'm Troy Birch with Great Lakes, Ontario's local brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery based in Etobicoke who brings you this here Between Two Fermenters, the podcast where craft beer and conversation collide, straight from the tanks to your ears. Today we're heading north. Well, north enough. We're talking Collingwood, Ontario, a town that most people know for ski hills, Georgian Bay, and a main street, a cute little main street that absolutely pops in the summer. But for beer people, Collingwood means one thing, Side Launch Brewing Co. And that's no offense to the others in the region. But Side Launch has been one of the area's most recognizable craft breweries since launching in 2014, known for their approachable, well-crafted lineup, led by their flagship wheat beer, their beautiful space with their huge floor-to-ceiling windows. They built a loyal following in their backyard that is enjoyed by, like I said, local residents and visitors alike. Big taproom energy, beautiful new packaging, and a brand that just feels right for the Georgian Bay lifestyle. My guest today is Dan Johnston, the man driving the bus up there as Vice President of Sales of Equals, the company that owns Side Launch, and one of the true hustlers in the Ontario craft beer world. Dan is one of those guys who has been around this industry long enough to have seen it all. The highs, the fast growth, the consolidations, the hard pivots, and he keeps showing up with the same energy and passion every single time. Dan and I go way back. We actually first crossed paths, I believe, not in Ontario, but in 2016 at the Craft Brewers Conference down in Washington, D.C. But at that time, he was just a young fella repping a little brewery out of Hamilton. You might have heard of Collective Arts. Different chapter, same hustle. It's been really fun watching this guy's journey since then, and I'm genuinely glad that we finally got him on the show. And after killing it with Collective in roles like the Director of USA International Sales and Marketing, and then Director, Collective Spaces and New Business, Dan moved on to cannabis for a few years before heading back to the brewery that gave him his start. The industry just beckoned him back, and he returned to lead sales for a year. And then, in March of last year, 2025, Dan took his experience and went to Side Launch. So today, we're going to get into a lot of things. Things like how Dan got his start in beer sales and what drew him to the industry, his time at Collective Arts and what he took away from that experience, what actually brought him to Side Launch, and what the role looks like day to day. The Side Launch story, I'm interested in this one. From their founding to various ownership changes to where they are today, what's it like selling beer in a market that keeps shifting under his feet, and what's next for Side Launch and the Georgian Bay beer scene. So grab something cold, like a fresh GLB, I might say, settle in, and let's get into it. Hang tight. We'll be right back with Dan Johnston from Side Launch Brewing Co.
It's Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery. We believe in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. It's Great Lakes Brewery. Order online for free local home delivery. In the GTA, good times and amazing beer. That's GLB.
Dan Johnston, Dan the man. Welcome to Between Two Fermenters.
Troy, thanks for having me.
I'm really glad we finally made this happen. We just ran into each other 2 weeks ago, and we said, okay, let's put it in the calendar. Let's make it happen.
Full Great Lakes crew
Yep.
up in Collingwood at the brewery.
We heard about this wheat beer, so we had to get up there. And no, it was great. It was great. It's always great catching up with you, and it's great to have a beer with you. You even bought me a sandwich. It was a really good sandwich. The vibes were awesome in the tap room that day, even though it was mid morning. But it was great. It's great that you're here. How you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, great. Easy drive in this morning. Got the Blue Jays home opener tonight. I got a fresh sunny side right in front of me right now that I'm looking forward to cracking. So
that's
going to be a great morning.
You stole the thunder there, but I'm glad you did. But it was sunny day yesterday, so we're recording this on what day is it? March 27th today. So this will drop next week. But March 26th was sunny day all across the province. We did a celebration of the release of Sunnyside Session IPA. 55 bars right across the province. Oh, you can crack that. I know. You keep looking at it.
I think this is like the moment of truth that I've been watching on your podcast. I got to get this crack right here.
There we go. He knows what he's doing. So you know what they say, sun's out, guns out, work your tin and crack a can of Sunnyside Session IPA. Okay, let's just jump right in, man. We first met at the Craft Brewers Conference, as I mentioned off the top. It was back in Washington in 2016, I believe.
That's correct.
And we went to I think it was like a German-inspired bar or something. And
Fitting for side launch.
And then Matt's like, Matt Johnston, the co-founder and CEO of Collective, was like, oh, this is Dan. And I was like, what's his last name? You know, he said Dan Johnston. I was like, oh, you're the one that everyone thinks is Matt's brother.
Correct. Or son.
Yeah, or son.
We're not that many years apart, but yeah.
Do you remember that trip?
I do.
Yeah.
I was just reminiscing on seeing you in the side launch tap room.
Yeah.
First trip to DC, craft beer bars across the province, craft breweries across the province, but pretty cool start for you and I. But I was very young. I think it was a year into my tenure with Collective Arts and got to go on this amazing trip south of the border. Was a whole group of Ontario-based breweries that were crashing bars all around Washington, D.C.
It's funny when you do go to these brewers conferences in the U.S., you end up connecting with a lot more Ontario or Canadian brewers that you wouldn't even get the chance to do back home, but because it's like, oh, hey, all the Canadian breweries are going to go to this bar today, and it was pretty cool. But that CBC experience, you just said you were kind of young at the time. I think it was probably like April or May, and you would have started in January or whatever of that year. So what was it like to go and experience that as a newbie? Yeah,
like my beer career started in Australia, so much smaller scale. So coming back to Ontario and then getting the opportunity to go right into the mecca of this U.S. craft beer boom. So going into a trade show floor with 1 million square feet of tap handles, glassware, introducing myself to breweries from all over the world, getting to know the Ontario craft beer scene that it was very fresh, very new to me. Was always a big fan. Obviously drank a lot of craft beer growing up, but getting to meet kind of back in the day when your brewers were your heroes, hanging with the Ryan Morrows and the Lackeys and the rest of the groups like that, and having beers and stories with those
Lackey
people.
A hero? Nice.
Spent enough time
Morrow,
around these guys. But it was eye-opening. It cemented the reason I wanted to get into craft beer was community, like the challenges that the industry was facing, listening to some amazing keynote speakers, and like got back from DC just ready to go and ready to jump in with both feet in the Ontario craft beer industry.
Those big conferences really do that. You come back full of piss and vinegar.
And tired feet. And tired feet. Yeah. And late nights. But yeah, it was an amazing trip. And yeah, that's the first time we got to meet. I think we had a few beers, and then I just can remember you were responsible for getting Matt in a cab at the end of the night. That's all I remember. Normally it's Ryan Morrow. I was his handler there.
I think that was the night Ryan's probably not going to like we're telling stories about him, but Ryan got lost in DC without a phone, if I recall correctly, or he was with someone that didn't have a phone and they didn't know where they were.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was missing in action.
I spent quite a few years there with that similar story. So I miss Ryan, and amazing brewer, and it was an awesome trip.
So before we get into all things side launch, let's back up a little bit here. So who is Dan Johnston before beer? Who was Dan Johnston before beer? Where are you from? What were you doing?
It's a good question. Yeah, so I grew up in Georgetown, Ontario. Background really still defines me today. I was sports, played baseball, played football, was a camp counselor, so big affection for the outdoors, community, worked with special needs children, over 10,000 hours with kids with autism, still something that I work with now with motion ball with Special Olympics there.
Nice.
And then went to school at Laurier, where I met my wife, mother to my 1-year-old daughter, turns 1 on April 3rd. Shout out to Harper here.
Very cute.
Yeah, and then after school ended, like most stories there, most people that end up in beer, was what's next for me after university. So we made the decision, my now wife, to fly out to Australia. So I lived in Melbourne, Australia for 2 years. And then after that time period, moved back to Ontario and jumped right into a job with Collective Arts.
Well, I do ask, usually folks have a good story, how they got into the beer story. So you just said you moved out to Australia, and did you work in beer right there?
Yeah, This is where, like, where maybe my wife would say when all went wrong, going back into craft beer. So my dad worked in hospitality his entire life, Fairmont, just basically 70 hours a week. Mm-hmm. I was in dish pit, storeman, server assistant, all the way up through. I moved to Australia, saw this incredible craft beer scene that was going through that initial honeymoon stage that I saw in Ontario years prior. They were experiencing that live right when I kind of landed there. So I Googled #1 craft beer bar in Melbourne. I walked in the door, dropped my resume off, flexed my Canadian accent. They called me Danada for a very, very long time. So, and then I jumped behind the bar my first month into my trip into Melbourne. It was where the craft brewers hung out. It was where you wanted to launch your brand new craft beer. We were the epicenter of beer in Melbourne, and it was just an incredible experience. Worked my tail off. I did anywhere from beer samplings for events, breweries that would come into the tap room. I just wanted to kind of get all into what craft beer was, what the community was. And then from there, met with the ownership group that owned the Terminus Hotel. They were opening up Australia's largest craft beer bar. So 50 taps, 4 a.m. license, capacity for over 600 people, dive rock and roll bar upstairs. And they looked at me and said, "Hey, do you want to get sponsored and stay and run this bar as general manager?" So I went home and said, Hey, Emma, my wife, we're not moving back home to Toronto. And how would you feel about staying in Melbourne? We're both going to get sponsored and go through this experience together. And she just said, "Buy me a cat." So we bought a cat. We named her after Rogue Brewing in Oregon. Nice. And getting the cat home was the most expensive thing ever. But that's kind of what kicked off my career in craft beer.
So that was being a GM of a beer bar. When it comes to working for a particular brewery, was there a specific moment that during that time in Australia that said, "Okay, when I do come home, I want to work in the beer industry, not in the hospitality side of things, but on the beer side of things"?
Yeah, I remember that moment very well. It was, I would be getting home after closing the bar and counting cash and having a couple Stone & Wood Pacific Ales, which is my favorite beer from Australia. And my wife would be getting ready to go to work in the morning. And there was a moment saying I couldn't run a bar forever and wanted to get into sales, and built some amazing relationships with some of the craft beer salespeople in Melbourne. And then at the time, the sponsorship only included me to be a hospitality manager. So we used to be a part of an event called Good Beer Week Australia. It was 10,000 activations over a 10-day period all the way across the state of Victoria. Got some amazing mentorship from some of the sales reps that were running some of the largest craft breweries in the province or in the state. And they just said, "Hey, reach out to some breweries at home." So I started making some calls at home, got connected with the Muskoka Brewing team, got connected with Matt Johnston over at Collective Arts. It was, and then made the decision to come back and interviewed with both those breweries in my first 3 weeks home. Nice.
So I mentioned earlier, before we get into the Collective chapter, but you did leave at one point. You left beer altogether. After coming back to Canada, you worked for 5-something years with Collective and then went into cannabis. How was that experience different than working in beer?
Yeah, honestly, one of my most prized pieces on my LinkedIn. You've done your research here, Troy, so I appreciate it.
I didn't even look at LinkedIn. I did look at LinkedIn, but I know your career.
We know each other well enough here.
I keep track of you.
Yeah, one of the most exciting things that I saw in cannabis was this brand new CPG business, controlled substance alongside beer, that was launching into retail. Saw the same energy that I saw in craft beer, saw this opportunity to learn something new, and met a couple people. We worked for a company out in British Columbia that were working with the LCBO at the time. We took over as president and CEO of the company. His name was Mandish, worked for the LCBO. Inspiring company, outdoors driven, BC grown, got to learn something very new. Publicly traded company, territory that I was running was over $200 million. So it was this big jump from what craft beer was over to something macro level. My leadership was all about. They were exceptional leaders, got to learn a whole new side of the business, and just jumping into the cannabis folks feel equally as passionate as we do about craft beer. A lot of synergies, obviously, with hops and the way cannabis has grown. So it was a cool experience to say this is a once in a lifetime launch into controlled cannabis sales within Canada, and I want to learn this and be a part of it. And took my way, like a superpower, I'd say, like maybe of me, is like taking the chaos of what craft beer is and then turning it into an action plan, or being able to deal with the chaos. And like we had to deal with that every day in cannabis. So it was a kind of like a 2.0 of craft beer launching
just
in
on
Ontario.
a bigger scale.
Just on a bigger scale with bigger budgets. And
So we're going to go back to the cannabis thing in a little bit here, but I want to get into the Collective Arts chapter. So your name and Collective Arts go hand in hand for a lot of people in the industry still to this day. You haven't been with them for over a year, but tell me about that chapter. How did you land there, and what were your roles?
Yeah.
So this is Collective 1.0.
Yeah, Collective 1.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned, like the background music community, saw this inspirational brand built by Matt Johnston and Bob Russell that was doing a global call for art, having artists submit from around the world. Jumped in, got deeper and deeper into the brand, met with Matt, said we needed a salesperson that could take over Hamilton. One thing I love about beer is being the local salesperson. There's something special to having the brewery in your backyard and having that tool to do brewery tours, to bring people into our space, to get them passionate and loving what we do. So I started off running local sales in Hamilton. At the time, there were probably 2 or 3 craft beer bars, the Brain, the Ship, a few other main spaces like that, and Tate really pressing the growth of craft beer within Hamilton. From there, I grew out to doing some work full Ontario, out of province in Alberta and BC, and some of the launches we had there. And then after coming back from Washington, D.C., we had some great meetings with some U.S. beer distributors and actually launched Collective Arts down into the United States, where I took over as director of international sales and marketing.
So you seem during that time to be, like I said earlier, Matt Johnston's right-hand man. What was that like as the company grew rapidly? Like, you seem to be kind of on the inside while this company, where they were blending like music and art and music, beer, art and music all together. So what was it like being one, kind of the right-hand guy, and then leading the sales charge to grow that company?
Yeah, I think Matt is an exceptional leader. He's an inspirational leader. He's an innovator. He's a brand builder. I knew the basics. I knew how to sell. I was a relationship person. I loved beer, but what Matt taught me was when we zoomed out from what Collective Arts was, it was creativity fuels creativity. It was finding opportunities where we could take our beer, our packaging, and support something that was bigger than craft beer overall. We Miami launch events all the way down to doing things locally in Hamilton, and working with Matt directly, getting his background as VP of sales or VP of marketing over at Moosehead, learning from some of the structure and things that they had there, and then also accelerating this path from going from kind of 2,000 hectoliters a year to I think we got to 45,000 hectoliters a year.
That's crazy.
After I left,
growth,
so it was just being able to spend time with the leaders, with Matt and Tony, with Bob, our previous VP of creative, working alongside them and just scaling together in that extreme pace. So we spent probably more time together than I did with my wife. So yeah, Matt, exceptional leader, exceptional time at Collective.
And what did you take away from Collective 1.0 that you still carry with you today?
That's a great question. Like, boiling it down to one takeaway is beer has a real opportunity to build an emotional connection with your drinker. Beer can be a support tool, something that you do really well, Troy, with Great Lakes, is the community aspect. Beer is an emotional connection. What you hold in your hand tells me a lot about you. You walk in with Busch Light, I'm going to make some assumptions about you, right or wrong. I might make an assumption, or a Heineken or a Stella bottle or a Great Lakes product or a Collective Arts. It tells you something about you. So what I took away is that connection piece. We can do something bigger with beer. That's always been really important to me, from community to how I give my spare time, the limited amount of spare time, and working for a company I'm proud of that makes an impact outside of sitting down and having an alcoholic beverage at the end of the day was something I still carry with me today.
Tell me a behind the scenes story, something crazy that people wouldn't have known about that 2,000 to 45,000 hect growth, because there's got to be some stories in there about like, oh, we shot for the moon, but it didn't happen, or it did happen, but then ABC happen. Anything that stands out in your time with Collective that was like, holy shit, look what we just did?
I think we shared a brewery with Nickelbrook, Arts and Science Brewing. So worked alongside John Romano. He used to make me a lasagna every Christmas there. But the moment when there was a departure from Nickelbrook from the Hamilton facility, and knowing that we could fill those tanks, there was a point when we had a 40 or 60 hectoliter tank. I can't remember. And my job was to sell a 40 hectoliter tank of Rhyme and Reason and a 40 hectoliter tank of Saint of Circumstance. And then we got into the point where we put in a 300 can per minute canning line, and we were running Ransack the Universe, and it was scaling up the piece. And just seeing that growth and those like shock and awe moments of like inline sleeving from when we used to be running a 4-head filler that used to light on fire, and getting into some of those.
That's the kind of story I'm looking for right there. So what lit on fire? Like the canning line would like start to smoke and stuff?
I think we could smell it from the second floor. Every once in a while it was going off. And we had moments like that. I think if we're looking for a fun little story, I'll remember we launched New York City. So we were in Brooklyn, New York. Still one of my favorite stories to date, but we're sitting there, and at the end of the night, we're having this like surreal moment. We had this band, Budos band, playing on the patio. We had 500 people that showed up in Brooklyn, New York, that cared about what we were doing at Collective Arts, enough to come out and drink our beer and support what was going on. Matt and I decided it was a great thing to pull out the van keys that we drove down from Hamilton to Toronto, or to Brooklyn, New York, to save some money. We would shotgun a beer at the end of every event. Kind of classic craft beer moment here. We shotgun the beer. We had a hug it out kind of moment, surreal moment. We have our beer in Brooklyn, New York. I woke up with a little bit of a headache in the morning. Matt had flown home. My responsibility was get the van home in time for a wedding. Those keys that we had shotgunned to the aha moment pint with were in Matt's pocket on a flight back to Hamilton. So we paid an employee at the brewery to drive or fly back to Brooklyn, New York, hand back the keys, and then a 10-hour drive back to Hamilton.
Sounds like something an owner would do.
Yeah.
So we could probably go on and on about the early days at the Collective, but I want to get into Side Launch a little bit here soon. What led you out the door, though, to get to cannabis and then back again for the second stint on Collective?
Yeah, with the Collective Arts, if you ever tried, they also have the cannabis beverage side of the business, Collective Project. So I'd been learning a little bit more about even the way that THC interacts with proteins inside beverages and things like that. So there was this, I have a search or like a knowledge quest. And now AI tools make it a lot easier to dive deeper. But there was this like yearning to learn more about what was happening with this new industry. Seeing like 1,500 stores open up across Ontario, seeing this like insanely passionate base of people that have been fighting for legalization across cannabis for all these years. And then I had someone reach out that I highly respected that said, hey, if you're looking, I know you're happy at Collective, but we're looking for a Ontario or Eastern Canada sales manager to come over to this business. And really had an amazing opportunity with Collective, worked for them for so long. Had done everything from, like you mentioned, sales to our spaces, and the pandemic hit. So it was a great opportunity for me to step out, learn something new, and jump into something I was maybe not overly comfortable in, but got to learn very, very quickly.
One of the spaces you created or were part of creating was that beautiful location in Toronto where you painted the whole parking lot. And tell me a bit about that. How challenging was that to do something? And tell me about the project and how challenging it was.
Yeah, this space. So this happened right in the middle of the pandemic, or I guess early pandemic, in between Town Ballroom, the big Rendezvous patio. So I think one of the most special things about craft beer is community in that third space, tap rooms. If it's meeting at, say, what for a pint, what the community was missing during the pandemic was something outdoors, something vibrant that didn't feel like you were sitting in a parking lot. So we worked alongside a group to take over this giant kind of parking lot. It fit about 2,000 people, overlooked the CN Tower, with this mission to create this outdoor safe community space during COVID. So what we knew best was art, music, programming. Reached out to an amazing group of artists led by Bruno and Shellac, to marquee mural artists here in Toronto. And we took on one of the largest outdoor mural projects ever done in Ontario. So we painted, I can't remember exact square footage, but it had to be like maybe 30,000 square feet of ground plus another 30,000. I'm probably undershooting these numbers. Normally I overshoot as a sales guy here, but probably like maybe 60,000 square feet on the ground, another 30,000 square foot mural. brought our sales team out to hand paint all the picnic tables and just created this amazing space in the city for what everyone was looking for, like safe connection.
Got a lot of press. Got a lot of press.
Yeah, I was tired. That was a month of really hard work to get that done, but we were really proud of it. And unfortunately, I think some of the macro brewers stepped in right over top of us year 2 and took a little credit for what we did there, but very proud of the project. Bruno and Shellac were amazing to work with, and it's still there today, so you can go and check that out. So
after you did that, you left for cannabis, and then you came back. You came back to beer. So there was a lot of talk in the industry when you left Collective the first time going, something's happening with Collective if this guy leaves. But you came back, and it kind of settled the ripples, if you will. So why'd you come back to, did you have unfinished business? Or?
Nice to think that people are thinking about me like that, but really, there was no motive. I came back for the challenge again. The Ontario retail landscape had changed. So not to say I'd figured out cannabis, but it wasn't something I was as passionate about as beer. The news came out about the convenience and grocery opening in Ontario. Collective has an amazing footprint in retail, like high velocity, great packaging, great liquid, all those things. But there was another challenge that I wasn't comfortable in and wanted to take on. So I spoke with Matt. We kept in connect while I was in cannabis. He's still a mentor, still someone I'd consider a friend. Like, watched his kids grow up, and friends, like, this from being at Great Lakes for this long. You scale with the families and the people that are at your brewery. And I had this other opportunity to come back and go back to my first true love, beer, and help navigate this new retail landscape. And so I spent 2 years there again with Collective, and really proud of the work that we were able to execute. And kind of like the 2.0 is a great way of explaining it. Like 1.0 Collective was like disruptive and fast moving, and 2.0 was execution and product sloping and building the right product assortment for what we're going, whether that's Sobeys or whether that's Circle K or whether that's some of the partners that we had there. It was a much more strategic piece. And I would say without my experience in cannabis and learning those tools that I was given from a publicly traded company doing $400+ million a year in revenue, I wouldn't have been equipped to take on a leadership role like that at Collective. And it was another great learning experience for me in my career.
Nice. And then you made the move to north to Collingwood.
Yeah.
So physically professionally.
Yeah. So I'd moved up to Collingwood area. I live in Wasaga Beach, but I just tell people Collingwood because it's nicer here. Love Wasaga. Shout out to Wasaga, but Collingwood's a much easier thing to say on air here. But I had lived in Collingwood for about 4 years. I'd known Justin, who was president of Equals, for quite some time. And I got the news that my wife was pregnant. So I was driving to Hamilton 1 or 2 days a week. Can't stay away from the brewery. Like, Matt gave me every opportunity for work from home, but it's very difficult when you're used to being at the brewery every day. Yeah. So I was still driving 2 hours in, 2 hours out twice a week, and that just wouldn't fit my new lifestyle. So where I used to go and drink, or where I used to go watch live music or bring my dog to, was Side Launch Brewing. I'd always respected the brewery. Like, Michael Hancock was a legend in beer as we were I was scaling in the industry or growing in the industry. And Justin and I luckily had a relationship, so I reached out to Justin, and then I was able to take on this new role, which was awesome.
So that was last year. Like, it's your first year anniversary, or like any day now, isn't it?
I think it was yesterday.
Oh, happy anniversary!
Yeah, thank you. So
see, we threw sunny day for us, but we also acknowledge your time there.
Yeah, so. And the strange crossover was, or not the like maybe crossover here, but I started my job, I think it was the 28th of March. My daughter was born on the 3rd. Yeah. So I went in for 3 days as the new VP of commercial, and then took 2 weeks off. So, and then came back with bloodshot eyes and no sleep. Yeah. And they're like looking at me like, "Hey, new VP, what are we doing here? Like, what's the plan?" And I'm like, "I'm just trying to keep my eyes open at this point."
I know you though. You were in the hospital room. Your daughter was born, and you were still checking your phone.
I was doing a label review in between. In between moments where both of my wife's and my kids' eyes were asleep, so you can't turn that side off on me.
My son was born in 2014, and we were just launching Thrust for the first time. and to the LCBO in tall bottles, the bomber bottles. And I can recall the day after he was born, we were in the hospital room, and I'm putting in orders for all my accounts to get kegs. It's just once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. So for listeners who aren't super familiar, can you give me the history of Side Launch, the whole history? How did Side Launch come to be? What big changes have happened over time? There's a lot that has happened there over the years, but let's just get into the kind of the 50,000 feet.
Yeah. We'll start. The brewery was founded in 2014. 2016, they won Canadian Brewing of the Year. When they started the brewery, they brought over the iconic brewer and engineer, ex-Molson, German beer aficionado, Michael Hancock. So they started with this incredible base of mountain lager, Side Launch wheat. These iconic dark lager, something that I still drink at the brewery often. They started off with this exceptional brewery in this exceptional space, which was we're about 5 minutes from the base of Blue Mountain, right down Mountain Road. And then in 2022, Equals took over ownership of the brewery. So I'm not as well versed, obviously, about
what happened,
the reason and sort of what happened there. But
there was a couple changes in ownership.
Yeah, a couple changes.
Years,
There's packaging changes. There was recipe changes. There's all these things that came alongside of it. But the one thing that always remained constant was Michael Hancock's recipes, this commitment to quality and excellence. And what I've come to learn with Equals Brewing is the scale and what they are able to do on their operations and co-pack side of the business. They had the exceptional tools to step into a brewery like that and then grow it and foster it into what we're hoping it can be in the next 3 years. So
that's a good point, though. Equals is the purchased Side Launch.
Correct.
So maybe just give the listeners a little. Who is Equals?
Yeah, Equals is based out of London, Ontario. They produce alcoholic or beer, ready to drink products and non-alc beer for multiple other breweries, cideries, non-alcoholic beer beverage companies across Canada, known for consistency and quality at scale. From an operations perspective, in my opinion, like I've never seen a better run facility. Just from trusted from craft producers to take on the most difficult beers to make, like their IPAs and their lagers, all the way through to hitting the consistency and the quality needed on non-alcoholic products nowadays. There's so many non-alcoholic brands that are in market, but consistently the Equals team is pumping out some of the best non-alcoholic liquid that I've seen or tried across Canada. So that's that base of the business. And then the branded side of the business is where Side Launch comes in. So some of the founders of Equals Brewing actually spend their winters or spend a lot of time in Collingwood. They had a similar story to mine where they would visit this brewery at Side Launch and they would have beers and this amazing experience. So when the brewery came up for sale, it was an easy decision there for the Equals team to jump in and make the purchase.
Nice. In the name Side Launch, it comes from, and again, the people who originally founded it in 2014. They named it Side Launch because it comes from the local shipbuilding history in Collingwood. It's on your cans. You just did a rebrand that we're going to talk about soon, but you left the name and you left that the boat, or the ship, I should say. So tell me about the connection and why the sense of place matters so much to the brand. Because you've said community so many times already.
I've been waiting for this question. So yeah, one of the coolest things, and I think one of the most, the story that we need to do a better job telling here at Side Launch Brewing is this like Ontario and Canadian heritage element that has happened in Collingwood. So from 1880, Collingwood was a shipbuilding community. Collingwood used to build anywhere from like Great Lakes, massive ships all the way through to World War II. They were building like minesweepers. They were building corvettes that would actually fought in World War II in Canada on behalf of Canadians to protect everything that we love about our country. And then all the way up, I believe, it was about 100 years. So call it 1980, they shut down the shipyards. But what was really cool about Side Launch and the way that they used to build these boats is that Georgian Bay is very shallow. So they were the only shipbuilding yard in North America that came up with this technology or this way of launching boats into the water. So Georgian Bay was very shallow. You couldn't do the traditional way of just kind of going nose down and pushing it out into water. You'd hit ground. So what they used to do was what they used to do is take these boats and launch them sideways into the water. So not only people came from the community, but people came from all over North America to watch these boats being launched. They would set up grandstands for people to come out and watch these boats being launched. So these giant boats would hit the water, create this massive splash. People would cheer, and it was this like heart and soul of community of like ingenuity, hard work, and then that boat hitting the water was that celebratory moment. And like we'll talk a little bit about like Built to Launch and what that means as our new platform, as our brand, but really like that's how Side Launch got its name, like why the boat is still on our packaging, why the boat's on my clothing or the hat that I'm wearing today. Like it is so important to our community. We get people in their 80s and their 90s coming in saying, I went to boat launches when I was 15 years old. There's Side Launch Lane in Collingwood. Like it is integral to not only our community in Collingwood, but it's integral to the Canadian manufacturing story and the World War stories, and like being able to build or move grain across the Great Lakes from all over kind of coast to coast in Canada. It's one of these like pieces I feel like desperately we need to get more people in the loop of this incredible moment.
Well, you mentioned Built to Launch, so we might as well talk about the rebrand now. So you guys just went through a massive rebrand that you were looking after. This was your little fun thing to do, fun big thing to do. But it's a very significant update, new look, new packaging, refreshed identity across the board, and this slogan Built to Last. So let's go behind the curtain. What drove the decision? And
yeah, Built to Launch. I think first I'll give a shout out to Liv, Lauren, and Steve on the marketing and brand side. They just did an exceptional job taking my hodgepodge vision from a sales perspective of what this packaging should look like and what it should connect to from a community perspective. But there were things that we needed to remain core to our business: the boat, the name Side Launch, what our brand stood for. The moment, like when you think about 3,000, 4,000 people employed in Collingwood building these boats every day, the hard work and the grit that goes into, don't have the technology that we do in 2025, 2026. So taking those pillars of what our brand was, but then looking to what people think Collingwood is now. Collingwood isn't this gritty shipbuilding community. It's the place you go to escape. It's mountain biking, it's snowboarding, it's après ski, it's jumping off the pier into the water, it's taking your dog for a walk down the trail. So we needed to take the heritage moment of what Side Launch meant to the community in Ontario and turn it into something where we could connect with that consumer base that is Built to Launch. And I know as a brand platform, what Built to Launch means for us, we launched boats, but now we launch onto ski hills. We launch onto bike trails, 70-hour-a-week work weeks in Toronto. We want someone to drink northbound lager and escape to their backyard. We want to be that inspirational brand. We want to be someone who stokes the fire of get out and enjoy our backyard. We're post-COVID now. Go for a hike. Get back into your community. Go to a cafe. Support local artists, musicians, and become back into that space. And what we want Side Launches to be is the reward after hard work. And hard work for you could be mowing the lawn, or hard work could be 45 laps on Blue Mountain and a couple backflips here and there that aren't in my repertoire. But how do we connect with that? And we did that through packaging. We made sure the boat was prominent. Every beer has a story. Northbound Lager, our flagship beer, really is that like escape. It's that like cracking the can like we just did with Sunnyside here, which is tasting delicious. We wanted to make sure that connection point transported you into the Ontario backyard. That's a northbound crack right there, Troy. I
grabbed a northbound just for you. It sounds like you're a marketer right now.
It's easy to be a marketer when you truly care. And I think one of the reasons I've found my success in craft beer is that I care about my community. I care about beer. I care about you, Troy, and the breweries and the people that are in our community, and continue to push for the success of craft beer in Ontario. So I know it sounds like sales talk, but a lot of this really, like, this beer and this brand means a ton to our community, and we're just looking to make it connect with more and more people across Ontario.
Now, you've only been with the company a year, yesterday. Is this your stamp? Like, is this your welcome to Side Launch, Dan the Man?
It's a great question. I want Side Launch to battle not only from a volume perspective, but an awareness perspective with some of the top breweries in Ontario. So my stamp will be 3 years from now when we can say we're a top 5 beverage brand in Ontario, which I know is a lofty goal. But the way that we have to get there is authenticity, community, continue like making authentic, great, approachable beers, and then scale from there. So I'd say step 1 we've accomplished on our mission, but my goal within this is to really, like, the 10-year plus history of Side Launch Brewing. I want to look back and at the 15-year mark and say we're a top 5 beverage brand in all of Ontario.
So you say beverage brand, not beer brand.
Correct. That applies like very much to our community. If you come to our tap room, it's hard to nail our demographic. We've got bachelorette parties. We've got 19 to 95-year-olds that are in our tap room. And with that comes like a diversity of beverage. And I want to talk a little bit too about the challenges I feel like craft beer industry is facing. But one thing that we always want to accomplish is like amazing liquid that's approachable and inclusive. So when you come to our space, you're going to be able to get a Northbound lager. You're going to be able to get a cocktail made by Side Launch. You're going to be able to get a non-alcoholic product if you don't consume alcohol. So those will be the 3 kind of beverage pillars that we have. So yes, first and foremost, we're a craft brewery, but we're an exclusive beverage or inclusive beverage producer to make sure that anyone that wants to get into our brand or come to our space in Collingwood has something for them.
Well, based on that, what does your full lineup look like right now? Because we were just at an event at Queen's Park, and you had non-alcs, you had your new lemon berry mist RTD,
yes,
and you have your beer lineup. But you have a wheat that, Michael Hancock, it used to be called Denison's Vice Beer.
Yes.
He was the heartbeat of that recipe in the brand for so long. But you've diversified the lineup over the years. And so walk me through the lineup as it is today, and what can people expect if they pick up a Side Launch beer?
Yeah, I think we'll kind of segment this out a little bit. So we still, to this day, brew 2 Michael Hancock's recipes. Not one part of Michael Hancock's recipes have changed, or under my watch or Justin's watch will ever change. So dark lager, our wheat, and mountain lager will be a part of our portfolio and things that we still look to put a lot of attention to and grow. And then from there, we've created Northbound Lager, a more like, let's call it Canadian style, approachable, easy drinking lager. That's now the cornerstone of our brand. From an IPA perspective, we have Any Day Light IPA and a hazy IPA, which is a little bit higher in alcohol content. And then what we've now been known for, or are seeing scale at the LCBO, are our fruited sours. So playing into some of the old European style fruited sours and things like that. So we've really let in with our pineapple sour. This year we're launching a margarita sour. Again, like, we don't go down the path of 6 different types of fruit and lactose and all these things in our beers. Very approachable. You know what you're getting if you have a margarita sour. You know what you're getting if you're having a pineapple sour. Same thing across our beers there. I think Dan Johnston would be proud to know that we're putting a lot of attention on mountain lager and using that as our premium lager space. And something like we're very proud of is still the beers and the history that we have there. The next step for us is looking into creating our own non-alcoholic portfolio. So one thing I would say is like a watch out with Ontario breweries is limping into the non-alcoholic space is very difficult right now. A lot of breweries from macro to micro are making amazing products with amazing liquids. So what we're starting with is, how do we build the right non-alcoholic brand that suits our demographic, that outdoor lifestyle community, reward-based community that's looking for a non-alcoholic product. So we're still in the development stage of what SKUs we're going to be releasing or what styles we're going to be releasing, but anticipate that we'll have at least 2 core non-alcoholic beers with a seasonal release, 1 seasonal release in spring, summer, fall, and winter. And then the new addition, the piece I can say, we had a month and a half to turn around an RTD submission to the LCBO once I first started. How do we do this authentically to the brand? We built Side Launch Spirits. We're going all in on Side Launch. So we had another branded business with Bangarang, ready to drink cocktails. We have put full attention now on Side Launch Spirits. So creating cocktails that are 5% vodka or gin based, sourced in Ontario recognizable ingredients. So like our first one, lemon berry mist, will have lemon, raspberry, kind of like keying in. The second one that we released is peach honey fizz. So we're going after like recognizable Ontario ingredients and then giving people that ability to kind of get closer to the brand. If you start with lemon berry mist and love it and then try mountain lager, great, we're excited. But if you go the other way and you need a little bit of a beer break on the dock, I know I bring a couple canned cocktails with me when I go away to the cottage. You can still do that, and we can still be a part of your cooler or your fridge experience.
Nice. Yeah, well, I get it. I get you're diversifying your portfolio so you have something for everyone.
Yeah, and I think focus, you and I talked about this, Troy, like as you scale, how do you maintain focus when you have different categories? Yeah. That's an ever-growing challenge within beer is first and foremost our number one priority, but how do we how do we then branch out into these new categories that don't distract us from our main goal here as a recognizable?
How can you be something
brewery?
for everyone when you're not something for anyone?
Exactly. Yeah. An inch deep, mile wide, like those kind of scenarios are things that are on our mind. But when your brand platform and what you speak for can move across categories, then it makes that communication
you have to really tie them in together.
Yeah,
you said you get rid of Bangarang and you're going to have...
Yeah, and we maybe not get rid of Bangarang.
Well, I mean, like you're going to pull that kind of business into under the Side Launch umbrella.
Yeah, you got it. And I think that's really important when you can keep the same message and then keep moving forward with those pieces. It's easy to talk about multiple products under the same brand platform or different categories underneath the same brand platform, but it keeps it authentic. You're not just bouncing around for the sake of a couple extra cases sold. So, yeah.
I just want to wrap up the Side Launch stuff with asking this question, going back to the rebrand, because I'm curious. It's a very significant rebrand, and I think it's the third one in Side Launch's less than 10-year history.
Correct.
But how is it's over 10 years, sorry, 2014. But how has the reception been from your retail partners, taproom regulars, from you personally? Like, I see you, and you were showing me all the different cans when I visited, and you were very proud. It was like you had a second child. But how's the reception been?
The reception's been incredible. I think we worked with a local artist from Hamilton. His name's Matt Doyle. He did the Noah Khan album art. We found him there, which was pretty cool. What we wanted to do was make sure that this isn't marketing talk or Steve on the VP side, but every can or every beer that we make needs to suit an occasion. And then we looked at our beer rebrand in that same way. Northbound Lager's got a Bronco on it. It's got the canoe on the top. It's meant to be that northbound trip up to the cottage from wherever you call home. Our Any Day Light IPA is your companion beer. It's your session beer. Like we're drinking Sunnyside right now. It's that easy, approachable beer. We put a golden retriever on the can. There's nothing more like companion-y than a dog that comes with it. So what we wanted to do is also what you'll see on a lot of our packaging is a nod either to the Ontario landscape that we call home, or you'll see things like the Collingwood terminals in the background on our wheat can. You're going to see Bruce Trail markings on the Any Day can. We want people to explore our packaging like we encourage them to explore the outdoors, and I couldn't be more proud of the brand team and what they put in front of us now. And the moment when you know you've done a good job is when you see your regulars who have gone through multiple changes, and everyone has an opinion on brand, obviously, but bring back the boat, go back to that iconic piece that comes with it. But when we saw regulars pick up the cans, I sat in the tap room and had a beer and watched them. The topography lines that are on the back of this can here are the topography lines that are from the Georgian Harbor. The font that we chose is the font that shows up on the Collingwood terminal. So Steve took a picture of the Collingwood terminal and matched the fonts from the terminal to what's on our cans. Mm-hmm. The boat shows up here in a meaningful way. There's nods to what our community and the people that have supported us for over 10 years wanted to see from us, but maybe not in the more prescriptive way of go back to the original big boat on the side of the can with the yellow piece. We gave them those nods. Like wheat went back to the original yellow Pantone. We gave them those things, but we gave them something a little bit more in the direction that we're going. And yeah, like I said, I'm really excited about this launch and the new platform it's built to launch.
Well, you've just sold me, and you've just sold the man behind the mic, Mike Boone, and we're gonna have to charge you for this ad. But we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna hear an ad for Sunnyside, and we're gonna come back and talk about the sales life, the Georgian Bay scene, and what's next for Dan the Man in the industry today. So hang tight. We'll be right back.
Well, how's your doodle? Rollin' Baggage here, rollin' solo down here at Sunnyside Beach. I's likes to get here nice and early to grabs me some prime sandy real estate. I lays out me towel, slather myself liberally with tannin butter, and soak in some tasty vitamin D. Speaking of tasty, looky in me cooler box. A whole gaggle of Sunnyside Session IPA. Big on the taste, low on the alcohol. A springtime, summertime, anytime treat, and a permanent staple in the grips of me fingers. Oh, and check out the can to see a brand new me. Been lifting some iron to boost me biceps, triceps, and me deltoids. You know what they say, sun's out, guns out. Work your tan and crack a can of Sunnyside Session IPA.
All right, Sunnyside, it's back all over Ontario. the sales life. I want to talk about the sales life with you. You just gave us your big marketing spiel, which was great. It really shows you love this rebrand. It really shows you love the product, and you're invested in this. But I want to talk about sales because this is your bread and butter. It's a grind that I don't think a lot of people in this outside the industry really fully appreciate it in beer. So give the listener a little example of what your life actually looks like as a sales rep.
Day to day, hour to hour, week to week here.
Well, you're not even a sales rep. You're leading the sales.
Started there, and I think that's important. Beer doesn't sleep. You're getting both sides of hospitality. So you're getting, there's two kind of ways I look at it and what I have to do on a day-to-day basis. We have the operations side of the business, the finance side of the business, the Excel spreadsheet side of the business, the planning, the freshness, which shout out to GLB, you guys do an incredible job with, the management of your sales team and your agents, the way you show up and market. And then there's the full customer service side of the industry as well. So bars and restaurants often are not regular hours. So a usual day could look like getting up. It's normally 6 a.m. for me, checking emails from bars and restaurants, making sure planning and production is on track, checking in with my sales team once I get to the brewery around 8:30, running my meetings with them, going down and working on the operations floor, checking in on, is the packaging line performing? Have we packaged everything that we needed to? Are trucks getting out the road from a logistics standpoint? And then you're getting your in-wave of orders in bars and restaurants. And then on top of that, you have your activations and your events and all the beer festivals, music festivals, the amazing activations that you just put on. Was it 50 bars? 55 bars, yeah. Wow, it's impressive. Things like that. Those are pieces. And then on the flip side, you're a father. It's like, how do you balance balance family life? How do you still spend time with your family and go through all that? So yes, there's the pretty side of craft beer and maybe my beer belly that reflects how many beers I have and the amazing food partners that we have or restaurant partners that we have. But on the back end, there's from an operational perspective, the evolution of craft beer is less cowboy and more like operational excellence. And if you're a craft brewery right now and investing in maintaining your logistics costs, making sure that your COGS are in check and all these things is like prices and inflation are growing, that's now a major part of what we need to spend a lot of our time on, which is not the sexy part of the job. Yeah, no, it's not going out and having the madman lunches and the dinners. No. It's if I get one lunch in the week, I'm happy. It's getting the text messages at 3 a.m. saying I'm out of beer and I need it for tomorrow morning at 11. I get a text from my wife at 1 o'clock asking if I've eaten lunch. Yeah. So yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, she's looking after you. She's taking care of me. She's taking care of you. You're one of the best in the whole industry at. I'm not. Don't take this the wrong. Like self-promotion. Totally. And you've really embraced the LinkedIn. You've really embraced social media, just pushing out what you are working on, but what the brewery and the brand is working on as well too. So, why do you put a lot of stock into the social media, if you will, of highlighting what you're doing? Yeah. Like, why do you like it so much? I think the amazing thing about craft beer is the storytelling, and the behind the scenes piece of it. I remember as someone who wanted to get into craft beer, and I followed certain craft beer people in the industry, and they would show me pictures of what they were working on, or like the R&D development, what was happening, or what they were doing within the community. So I really kind of took the challenge at Collective Arts as I cashed a check one time at TD as Collective Dan, at Collective Dan on Instagram. And now I'm Side Launch Dan, but that meant to me of being able to go log into my social media and post where I'm drinking a beer at a local restaurant or leave a 5-star review. It's sometimes about just taking that extra 5 minutes and showcasing something you're really proud of. I get sometimes emotional when I tell a story, but my dad put in a ton of hours. He would miss Christmas mornings because he needed to be at the hotel, or he would miss New Year's Eves and things like that. And one thing he always said to me was, you need to be very proud of where you work. So whatever logo you put on your chest, you need to go all in on it. You need to be really proud of the community. You need to be proud of the people. And that just naturally, as social media evolved, it was something that I could kind of help celebrate my team, where our product was found, what we were launching. Is most people don't see the the tireless hours from the packaging team that worked a 12-hour shift in a 40-degree brewery. It's also their way to say, hey, this sales manager really cares about the product that we're putting into the market. And if I'm the VP of sales and I'm not the one pushing my product even a little bit too much sometimes, like, I think it reflects and shows the rest of the team that I'm as bought in as the delivery driver is delivering our product. So
yeah, there's only a few in this industry that your name or names are synonymous with the brewery that you work for, and vice versa. So back in Collective 1.0, Matt, but you put a face to the company. It was like, oh, Dan the man. And there's a few of you in the industry, and you're doing that with Side Launch now. So you mentioned 3 to 10 years, but you mentioned 3 years. So what's your end goal with that 3-year mark that you're saying? Like,
it isn't always, it's hard to define success. I think for me, volume and market share is obviously like the most basic way of tracking where we want to go. But for me, I want to be able to travel to Ottawa and have someone pick up a Northbound Lager and understand what our brand means. When I was talking about Side Launch years ago, people were like, oh, the brand with the battleship on the front of it. Yeah. I want someone to be able to say Side Launch Brewing, Collingwood was a shipbuilding community, and they're built on hard work and grit, and they've got this amazing ambassador, Mikey Cicerelli, who rides for Burton, and he's built for launch. He like started snowboarding in Collingwood, and now he rides for the Canadian Olympic team. Like
I like how you just dropped in built to launch there.
Yeah, but like that means something to me. That I like that grit and like that energy of like you build something to go bigger, and like that's where Side Launch is for me. But in the end, like, I'm not going to hold punches. Like I came to Side Launch to leave an impact and turn us into, so we could sit at tables with Steam Whistle or Muskoka or Great Lakes, Flying Monkeys. Those types of brands are who we look to. And like for me, I have a competitive edge, and I like that, and that's what drives me every day. But I want to do it the right way. And if it takes 5 years, it takes 5 years. My internal target is 3. I think it's nice to have targets and wake up every day with something that you like, you benchmark yourself against.
I called you a hustler at the start because you seem like you're always on, you're always going. And, anyone who's familiar with my story is I had big burnout and coming out of COVID. Do you ever worry that you're too tied to the brand, or you tie yourself to the brand?
I think that's an extremely important thing. And something I'm a big advocate of is I'm the most outgoing salesperson, self-motivated person there. I struggle with anxiety. I take anxiety medication.
So do I.
There's not many people, I think, and that's super powerful. I think for guys like you and I, Troy, to say that for some of the other men and women in our industry here is that in this industry, like hospitality, other industries out there, you can experience burnout. If you can find the love and being able to weave your family into that, and you can do those things every day that feel authentic to who you are, and then understanding too that your odd hours, you need to be able to take a 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and spend time with your kids, or go get a coffee and read your book and disconnect.
We're lucky in that respect because we have senior positions that we can do that. And, a lot of people in packaging, like you said, are operations. They can't just do that. But we're lucky in that respect.
And I think like leadership really needs to hear their people and be on the floor, have those relationships with all levels of staff, and like celebrate the hard work, but also give that time for disconnect and give those perks to your staff that you can disconnect from work, and it is only beer. Like no one is going to die if we
tell everyone that at the brewery when things are getting tough is like, you know what? If that one bar didn't get their one order today, don't worry.
And there's a solution, and we will make it up, and we'll make it more efficient the next time. Yes. So I think it's that. Thank you for asking that. I think it's a great question and something I still struggle to balance with on a day to day, and it's one of those things you got to stop and reconnect with yourself every once in a while and say,
it's okay to relax.
It's okay to turn it down a bit. Okay.
So going from that to this, what are the biggest misconceptions people have about people like you that are always on and selling beer all the time.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like that, this is all like a sales ploy. I think might be the biggest thing people take from me is like, I'm golden retriever energy all the time. Like if I'm
there's a ball over there, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll get it. Like, yeah. And I'll bring it back to you and you can throw it 30,000 more times and I'll keep picking it up. Like I am who I am. I'm authentic. I wear my heart on the sleeve. I wear the brand like Side Launch that I care about on the sleeve. I genuinely, extremely care about the community and our staff. I'm human. I'll make mistakes. I'll push too hard. And I know my work hours are not always others. So it's like an email to my team doesn't mean you need to answer it. I try to be clear on those things there. But yeah, misconceptions I think that could come across to me is that, that it's not authentic and it's not real. But I'll tell you right now, there's just nothing, there's no company I would ever work for that I did not believe in the product or the people or the mission we're trying to accomplish. And that's my DNA for my whole life. Yeah.
Well, let's move over to the Georgian Bay beer scene because you're trying to really build this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's evident in listening to you talk. Broader Collingwood, Georgian Bay, it's grown up a lot. There's multiple breweries there. And I said at the top that when people think about Collingwood and they, you say breweries Collingwood, it's going to be Side Launch is going to be the first one. And you've worked, and the teams before you have worked hard on that. What's the community been like in adopting you as, not you personally, but the brewery as Collingwood's brewery?
Yeah, I'd say like what and shout out to Freddie and Robin, the taproom team in Collingwood, and now we have a taproom and beer garden in London as well. But run by Dee, and she's awesome. The community and what we do every day is built on programming and an inclusive space. We run activations Thursday through Sunday every single week. Live music every single week, high-end talent. We have dogs, we have kids, we have Mamacita food truck that comes in. You'll see like the dads like me that want to go in for a couple of beers and bring their little one and their dog. But really like what we try to offer is a community space, whether that's like charity events where we don't charge room rental fees or things like that. Like we're all in on community, and when that shows, and then you get things like consistent programming where you don't have to guess if you're going to go to Saturday at Side Launch, you're going to have an amazing live music experience. You're going to be able to sit on an amazing patio. You're going to drink great beers. You're going to have great service behind the counter. Our taproom team are amazing and have worked. Some of them have worked there from the beginning and remember the original packaging all the way through to where we are today. The community, like, it's lucky too. We have Side Launch Days, Side Launch Lane. Like, we are essentially Collingwood. Yeah. So it's we have like we have a dedication level that we need to go to the Collingwood standard, and this standard that's been around for 100 years of shipbuilding. We have that name. we like, we're not here to disrupt any heritage moment that happened. Yeah. But
now the community, you've done all that, but how has the community embraced it? How would you say?
The best way to explain it is we ran an adult book fair on Sunday.
I know we were talking about this, that, Great Lakes had this great idea, and then they're like, oh, by the way, we're doing this.
Yeah, we did this. Yeah, I encourage you guys to do it.
We're still doing it. Well. Ours is in June, ladies and gentlemen.
We ran this book fair with Nottawasaga Bookstore, and we had over 600 people come in on a Sunday. Yeah. When we hold an event, they know it's going to be a high standard. The community breathes and loves Side Launch, and we don't take that for granted ever.
Well, just give a couple name drops, other breweries or spots in the region that you would say, okay, because we are.
Oh yeah.
Even though, we might be a different size than Side Launch, we're friends. Like, we go there and drink, and we talk shop, and we talk, oh, you should go with this. We just hired a new rep in the area, and you were one of the first people to say, let's schedule something, and I'll meet with them and then say, here's a couple places that you should go visit. So in the region, in Collingwood area, where would people who are going from wherever in Canada listening to this?
Yeah, if you don't find me at Side Launch in the tap room, I'll be over at Enswell Brewing. It's just down the road. They have incredible pizza done by Later Pizza. I believe it's 2X Steam Whistle employees that own the business.
Oh, really?
Beers are phenomenal.
Sorry, 2X Steam Whistle for Enswell.
Yes,
Enswell. Okay, yeah. I thought you were talking about the pizza. Yeah.
No. Enswell is owned by a guy named Dan Lennox. He's awesome. Go there, have a beer. Also, Farmers Market on the weekend on Saturday. Amazing place to go check out all the local community spots. And then also pick up a brewery called Passage Brewing. 500 ml bottles, barrel conditioned. Literally some of the best beers I've ever had in my life. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. Try Passage Brewing next time you come to Collingwood. easiest spot, jump on their website or Instagram, or head down to the farmers market and grab some bottles. But just amazing stuff what Owen and his wife are doing over there.
And if you want to catch Michael Hancock and
Tuesday afternoon
at Side Lunch and
Every
Wednesday
week.
afternoon at Enswell.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
We got him pegged now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the industry today before we get into some rapid fire questions. But you're tuned into the industry. You're tuned into the politics, if you will. Justin, the president of Equals, is very engaged and tuned in to what's going on. So what's your overall read on the industry right now? Not from a political perspective, but just the industry.
Yeah, things are hard right now. Let's say that there's headwinds, and that's like putting things lightly, from like inflation on can costs to the cost of grain to electricity costs of what's happening, and then
gas,
and then we've got downward pricing pressure coming from macro breweries and pieces like that are coming. There are headwinds in the industry, but it's nothing that your brewery cannot overcome. The reason I feel optimistic about the craft beer industry and where that we are is there's still this amazing support system for Ontario beverage brands, Ontario companies. What's happening south of the border right now is more people are staying within our country and doing, or province, and doing less travel. Like, the optimism that I have within the industry is like continuing to tell your story, continuing to be a part of your community. And then there's avenues that we could look to, like cocktails, like non-alcoholic beer, in areas that you can grow in that might not have worked 15 years ago with the notorious like craft beer playbook, but looking at other avenues for growth, starting with your tap room and your people and your sales team and things like that. But from an industry perspective, there's more than enough things to look at from a headwind perspective and get pessimistic. But I think with the right team and the right attitude, like there's so much opportunity for growth and getting people to feel that connection to your brand, to make sure they pick that up over versus a beer made in Colorado with a Blue Mountain on it. But we need to own Blue Mountain.
Well, I had the next question was, what keeps you optimistic? Because again, you're a pretty optimistic guy. You're always happy-go-lucky, cheerful. And other than what you just said, is there anything else that you could say, like, this industry, this is why I'm so optimistic?
The people, like the business owners, like Mark, and like seeing the team at Queen's Park, Mark and Mandy over at Left Field, just the can't keep me down mentality within this industry just motivates me every day. Like, finding your edge, finding your way to continue to compete. Like, what an amazing community that we have. And that's what keeps me optimistic, is the willingness for like the round tables across business owners to make sure that we can go in and work as a group, to make sure that craft beer in Ontario doesn't see market share declines, that we connect to their consumer base. Like, there's nothing better and nothing more motivating for me than seeing owners of businesses have those relationships and having those connection pieces. So I'm optimistic. I don't think it's not going to be without hard work. The industry's not done changing. FSM changeovers happening on April 1st. All of these pieces that are
future modernization.
Things like that. But yeah, like there's so much growth to connect with in Ontario. I think the continued support from the LCBO, some of the changes that will come there. But
we're still 99.99999 like percent.
Totally.
We have one store in Halifax that buys beer the very odd time, but other than that, we're all in Ontario because it's such a big market that's still under tapped, if you will, in certain respects. So, any advice for someone coming into beer sales or the industry in general? So, if you were young Dan and you looked to Matt and said, "Hey, give me some advice," but now you're older Dan, you're still very young, but someone comes and asks you, "Hey, I want to get into this industry." What would you say to them to this day? Would you say get into it or caution them?
Get into it. Do your research, find a brand that makes you tick. Side launch from an outdoor perspective, there's a connection point there in community and snowboarding and all the Blue Mountain pieces. If
do you snowboard?
I do. Yeah, I love it. I'm out on the mountain all the time. Great relationships with a lot of the Burton guys and a lot of ski hills that are in the area. You're a creative looking to a brewery like Collective Arts. Your community live in Etobicoke, look to a brand like Great Lakes. You're in Trinity Bellwoods and you love that Bellwoods nature, that Ossington, that Bellwoods Park. Like, really step into a brewery that means something to you. If you go into a brewery that doesn't connect with who you are, you don't meet the people, you don't understand the brand, it will not be the experience that you want it to be. that's the amazing thing about craft beer, is that there is a community for you. It's about selecting the right brewery, like Town Brewing, like loving to see what Jeff and the team are doing over there.
How come Jeff keeps getting shout outs here?
He
keeps, Jeff's one of my best buddies. And
but just the way he connects to the community, their new spaces, the live music, the labels, and you see it in the people that they employ every day. Like there's a look, there's a feel, there's a passion in the way that they come to market. So I just encourage you, if you're new to the industry, you want to get into the industry, is find the brewery that aligns with you and your passions.
And what's next for Side Launch? What's next for you? Anything exciting on the horizon? Oh, you just did a massive anything exciting on the horizon for
the Lemonberry Mist, the new gin sparkling beverage, raspberry and lemon has hit shelves now. So now it's about the execution pieces and what we're doing there. We just launched an ambassador program. So we've one thing that we want to do is celebrate people who live in Ontario that really embody our brand. So we've just launched 2 new ambassadors. Mikey Cicerelli, born and raised in Ontario, won Natural Selections, which is a huge snowboarding event. Shane Glover, shout out to Shane Glover, came on as our second ambassador within the business. He's a musician, working with CBC right now on his album release. Those things of like championing community and community members, I'm really excited about launching and getting those a little bit deeper. And then, you're going to see a lot of fun stuff coming from Side Launch in the next 12 months. I've been here for 12 months. I think we've accomplished a lot, but we're just getting started here.
I love it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come back with some rapid fire questions. Hang tight.
Here we observe the elusive GLB pet octopus named Octo. Protective, territorial, passionate about hops.
I can hear you talking about me.
Its prized possession, the Great Lakes Brewery Octopus Wants to Fight 6-pack.
Which is now available at the LCBO for some reason.
Ah, yes. 6 shimmering cans of the Great Lakes Brewery Octopus Wants to Fight 6-pack. Bright, citrusy, dangerously drinkable.
How about some privacy, pal?
Unfortunately for the octopus, the 6-pack is now widely available.
Don't remind me.
Octopus Wants to Fight 6-pack. Now available at the LCBO.
Why I order?
Ouchie. Great Lakes Brewery. Brewed for you, Ontario.
The Octopus 6-pack is now available as our famous radio announcer there said. But yes, Octopus 6-packs, brand new to the LCBO, now available all across the province. Dan, are you ready for this? This is the part where I struggle and the guests usually struggle. It's rapid fire time.
I'm in.
Okay,
I'm cracking that northbound.
Most people drink Great Lakes when they're on the show, if they're a guest, just saying. But I get Okay, rapid fire questions. What beer have you been enjoying recently that's not a Great Lakes and it's not a Side Launch?
Town Pale Ale.
Name a brewery that has consistently impressed you.
Bellwood's, notoriously consistent.
Name a person in the industry that has or continues to inspire you.
I want to nail this one. The left field team. Mark and Mandy.
Best time and place for a beer.
Airport. 8 a.m. before your trip.
Yeah, you like the airport beers, eh?
Morning airport beer.
Sorry, I was just taking a sip there. What's a beer style you think deserves more love?
Dark lager. I'm obsessed with them.
And it was yours. Side Launch was originally known as Side Launch Dunkel.
Dunkel, correct? Yeah.
When you were in university, you said earlier you went to Wilfrid Laurier. What were you drinking in your dorm or in your residence?
Carling. Carling cans, short can, 355s. Love them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could only drink one beer for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Brand promotion side, northbound lager. If I'm going outside of the brewery every day.
He's on brand all the time.
Yeah, you got to go one on brand. Obviously, it's northbound. One beer for the rest of my life, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Good. If you're wondering what mine would be, it'd be Great Lakes Canuck Pale Ale. Best brewery you've ever toured?
Sierra Nevada. It was just a mecca of craft beer in California. Just like, you ever get that chance, go to Sierra Nevada.
Did you hear the story of the last guest that was on? You see, I'm going off script here, but Alex Diamandis from YCH.
Yeah.
Ken Grossman came up to his booth to sign in to register for this event, and Alex is like, I don't see your name on this thing.
He's like, I'm Ken Grossman.
Because he didn't know who it was, and he's like, oh, I'm Ken Grossman. Yeah. Okay, you can go through.
Yes, sir.
Best place to grab a beer in Canada outside of Ontario.
Outside of Ontario. That's a great question. Somewhere on the island in Victoria. I've been to so many really cool breweries out there, and just sitting amongst the mountains or in the water and looking at that, it's just like there's something special. Like that is true Canada.
Spinnakers is an amazing place to have a beer.
God's country. Yeah.
If you weren't in beer, what would you be doing?
Be working in special education. I think that still has a special place in my heart. Something I'd love to get more involved in.
Well, I mean, again, I'm going to go off script. Tell me a little bit more about the work you're doing. You said the organization is
Motion Ball. So they run 1 day activations in cities and university campuses across Canada. So they pair with Special Olympics athletes. So there's 2 athletes on a team of 10. You rotate sports from dodgeball, basketball, generally anywhere from 10 to 20 teams. Goals to raise about $50,000. And then there's the main charity, 70% of the funds go back to Special Olympics Canada. And then locally, the other 25% of the funds get moved across there. So myself and another Collingwood community member are starting the Collingwood chapter this year. Good. So we have our first event in October.
How'd you get into that?
It was a bit of a long story, but I'd done some work in special needs. Had a kid that I used to work with who's no longer a kid in high school. He's now he's basically my age. He was participating in one of the events, and I did some digging about how we could support, and reached out to the Motion Ball team, supported their gala here in Toronto, and then found out that there was rumblings that they wanted to start a Collingwood chapter. So I said, with all my spare time, I am in. I'm in. And
well,
we're excited about it.
Yeah. If you could have a beer with just one person in the whole world, dead or alive, famous or not, who would you choose?
The most interesting person, and I think I would like to revisit a beer, was Garrett Oliver from Brooklyn Brewery.
Just recently inducted into the Brewers Hall of Fame.
What a storyteller! What a history! Starting person of color, starting the first craft brewery in Brooklyn, New York, or one of the most premier craft breweries in Brooklyn, New York, and just the travel and the
I wouldn't even care about having a beer with him. I would just like to eat the food that he's always posting about.
His Instagram's phenomenal. I've been lucky enough to share a few meals with him. Just the coolest person to have a beer with.
Fun fact about Garrett Oliver is he used to wear before he got all into this new fashion, but he used to wear a blazer he had a crest on it that was done by the same company or group that did cresting or embroidery for the Queen.
That's the stuff you get from Garrett Oliver.
Garrett Oliver.
That's the reason you have a beer with Garrett Oliver. Yeah.
So I asked you this earlier, but I'm going to ask you in a different context now for rapid fire. What's next for Dan? Not side lunch. What's next for Dan?
Dan is really leaning into being a father and balancing life. And then culture within our brewery is a big piece, making people celebrate and be happy to come to work every day. It's something I want to continue to get better at and just continue to grow that community within Side Launch.
That's a great way to end it. Dan, this has been a long time coming, and it really did not disappoint.
Yeah.
You're exactly the kind of person this show literally was made for, is to tell this story.
Pumping my tires. Yeah.
Someone who loves the industry, works harder than most, and I say that with respect, and still makes time to talk about it with enthusiasm and a smile on your face. It's been great catching up again. I know we just had beers and broke bread a couple weeks ago, but this was a lot of fun, and wishing you and the whole Side Launch crew a big year ahead. So
yeah, and thank you, Troy. Same to the Great Lakes team. Inspirational what you guys are doing. So thank you for having me, and Mike for producing. This has been awesome. Yeah. Go Jays tonight. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yes. Cheers, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Troy.
And that's it. That's all, folks. Episode 59 with Dan the Man Johnston from Side Launch Brewing Co. has moved from the mash tun to the fermenters. If you enjoyed our conversation or any other episodes, please leave a review or a comment wherever you get your podcast. It genuinely helps more than you know. Today's episode is fueled by cans of Sunnyside Session IPA. Big on the taste, low on the alcohol. A springtime, summertime, anytime treat, which you can now find all over Ontario at the beer store, LCBO, select grocery stores, convenience stores, and at both GLB retail locations. Cans are also available online at greatlakesbeershop.ca for free local home delivery. You can visit the brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard in Etobicoke or grab some delicious eats and fresh pours at our brew pub at 11 Lower Jarvis Street in Toronto. If you have any content that you'd love to hear us discuss on the show, guest ideas, or just want to tell us what you're drinking, drop us a line at podcast@greatlakesbeer.com. Until next time, please remember to keep tipping your glass of fresh GLB in the right direction. Supporting local never tasted so good.
To learn more about what's happening at Great Lakes Brewery, visit greatlakesbeer.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter or follow Great Lakes Beer on your favorite social media platforms.